Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we are going back in time.
That's right. We're visiting the 1950s.
All right. So we are going to the year 1950. And, well, we are going to look at some of the typical and common words and phrases that were used back in that year.
Yes. All of these words and phrases you might still hear today, but they are really a little bit old-fashioned.
All right, so we have some words that we need to look at before we listen to our dialogue. So let's look at these words in vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
We have two words we're going to hear in the dialogue. The first one, sock hop.
Sock hop.
A sock hop.
Now, this is very old-fashioned and probably not used anymore.
No, not used anymore. But a sock hop is a school dance.
So all the kids after school would get together and dance rock and roll in the gym or something.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, well, it's very popular and very common among American culture in those days.
Yes, in 1950.
So you would still maybe see this in a movie or something.
Yep.
And our second word is still used today. All right, a Sadie Hawkins
vocabulary
dance.
preview.
So a Sadie Hawkins dance is a dance when the girls ask the guys to be their date.
So it's a party, and the guys don't invite the girls.
No, the girls invite the guys.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a reverse of roles there.
Yes.
That's interesting. So in this case, the girls have to come up to the guys and say, hey, do you want to go to the dance with me? Very good. So this still happens today in North America, so you will probably hear it sometime. And I guess now we could listen to our dialogue for the first time, and it takes place at a high school.
Hey, Tracy, how are you doing?
I'm swell, Sandy.
Hey, listen, you want to go to the sock hop with me this Friday? It'll be a blast.
First of all, it's the Sadie Hawkins dance. The girls gotta ask the guys. Also,
Oh, right. So when are you going to ask me? I've had my eye on you for a while.
Hey, buddy, ease off my girl, man. Or do you want a knuckle sandwich?
cool it, guys.
Your girl? Who?
Says me, pipsqueak.
All right, so a little bit of a discussion over a girl, very common as well.
Yes. Yep.
So we're going to be looking at some of these words that were maybe a little bit difficult in the dialogue in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Well, we've got 5 phrases and words from the dialogue. Now, the first thing we heard was Sandy said, heya.
All right, now an interjection, a way of saying hi, but very old-fashioned. Heya,
Yep. Basically, hi, you.
or hey, you.
Yep.
Okay, so heya. I guess you would still use it today, though, right?
Yeah, it's still a normal way to greet someone.
All right, very friendly. And what about our second word?
Well, Sandy asks Tracy, how are you? And Tracy replies, swell.
I'm just swell.
When you are swell,
You're great. And again, swell is an old-fashioned way of saying I'm good or I'm
Yeah.
great, but you would still hear it.
yes. And it also is used to describe things. That was a swell party.
Okay, swell.
Yep.
All right, now for our next word. They got into a fight, and Tracy said, cool it, guys.
Cool it.
Cool it.
Cool it.
So why don't we listen to some examples of
Other examples.
cool it before we explain it?
Example 1.
Just cool it. Now is not the right time to get angry.
Example 2.
You need to cool it and stop yelling at me.
Example 3.
Don't cry, Pam. Just cool it. You will be okay.
All right, so cool it, guys. Basically, it means
Relax.
take it easy.
Yeah.
Don't get into a fight. Okay.
This is one my dad used to say to me and my sisters all the time. Cool it, kids. Stop fighting.
Very good. So it is still very commonly used, I would say.
Yep.
All right, now for our last 2 words. These are a little bit more old-fashioned.
Yes, straight from 1952. They talk about a knuckle sandwich.
All right, he says, do you want a knuckle sandwich?
A knuckle sandwich. What are we talking about here?
All right, well, on your hand,
Yeah.
you have, above your fingers, you have your knuckles.
Okay, so those are the bumpy parts on my hand.
The bones on the top part of your hand. So he's basically saying, do you want me to punch you, right? Do you want me to hit you with my fist? So it's a very informal way of saying a punch, knuckle sandwich.
I'll give you a knuckle sandwich.
Right. And for our last word, Tommy called Sandy a pipsqueak.
Pipsqueak.
Squeak.
A pipsqueak.
Now, this is kind of an insult, but again, very old-fashioned.
Yes.
A pipsqueak is a very small person, right?
A small person who is not strong
Okay.
or not powerful.
So a small and weak person. Pipsqueak. I guess nowadays you can still call somebody pipsqueak, but maybe in a lighter sense.
It would be a little bit funny to call someone a pipsqueak.
Okay, so a pipsqueak. Why don't we listen to our dialogue again? We're going to slow it down a little bit so you can get all these words that we just looked at, and then we'll come back and look at some phrases.
Hey, Tracy. How are you doing?
I'm swell, Sandy.
Hey, listen. You want to go to the sock hop with me this Friday? It'll be a blast.
First of all, it's the Sadie Hawkins dance. The girls gotta ask the guys. Also,
Oh, right. So, when are you going to ask me? I've had my eye on you for a while. Hey, buddy. Ease off my girl, man. Or do you want a knuckle sandwich?
cool it, guys.
Your girl? Says who?
Says me, pipsqueak.
So that was a little bit easier to understand, but some great 50s style phrases and words. So why don't we look at some of these phrases now in Fluency Builder?
Fluency Builder.
All right, on Fluency Builder today, we're going to look at 3 phrases. Why don't we start with the first one? Sandy said that the party will be a blast.
It'll be a blast.
It'll be...
To be a blast.
So if something is a blast, it's very fun. It's entertaining.
Yes, really fun.
So the party was a blast.
I had a great time last night. It was a blast.
Okay, very good. So very fun times.
Yep. And you'll still hear this phrase used today. Now, the next one. So Sandy said he had his eye on Tracy.
He said, I've had my eye on you.
To have your eye on someone.
So if I have my eye on the new iPhone that came out,
You are watching it carefully because you want it.
so I'm keeping my attention on it because I want it.
I have my eye on that sweater because it's on sale.
Okay, so you really want that sweater. All right. So to have your eye on something or on someone, right? And for our last phrase, Tommy told Sandy, hey, buddy, ease off my girl.
Ease off.
All right, so why don't we listen to some examples of how we could use ease off, because it might be a little bit tricky, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Example 1.
You need to ease off the junk food.
Example 2.
Matt is putting so much pressure on me these days. I wish he would ease off.
Example 3.
You're pushing Susie too much. You need to ease off a bit.
So it looks like you say this phrase, ease off, when somebody is putting pressure on you or doing something to you that they shouldn't.
Right, maybe they're being too intense or
Yep.
maybe annoying you. So you tell them, hey, ease off.
Yeah, relax, stay back.
Stay away. Very good. So ease off my girlfriend.
Ease off the fatty foods.
All right, so take it easy. Stay away from.
Yep.
Okay, so some great phrases there. I think it's a good idea for us to listen to our dialogue one more time, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the 1950s.
Hey, Tracy, how are you doing?
I'm swell, Sandy.
Hey, listen. You want to go to the sock hop with me this Friday? It'll be a blast.
First of all, it's the Sadie Hawkins dance. The girls gotta ask the guys. Also,
Oh, right. So, when are you going to ask me? I've had my eye on you for a while.
Hey, buddy, ease off my girl, man. Or do you want a knuckle sandwich?
cool it, guys.
You're good.
Says me, pipsqueak.
So the 1950s, a nice era, and this is the first of a small series that we're going to have of different words and phrases that were used back in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, etc.
That's right. So a little bit more time travel is coming up here in English Pod.
Exactly, because a lot of these phrases are still used, and you might even see them in movies, or if you're talking to somebody that was maybe born in these eras, they might even still use them today.
That's right. So do you guys know any English phrases or slangs from the 1950s? Why don't you visit our website at englishpod.com to tell us about it?
All right, we'll see you guys there. And also, if you have questions or comments, please leave them on the comments section as well.
Well, thanks for listening, and until next time,
Bye-bye.
goodbye.
Second paragraph in the dialogue. All right, so
Yeah.
get this. We're going back in time for this deep dive back to the 1970s.
Oh, wow. The 70s.
Yeah, we're going to explore like all the slang
Slang, yeah.
that they used back then. It's going to be pretty far out.
Far out, exactly. And, slang is so interesting because it's like a cultural time capsule, right? It gives us a snapshot of like what was considered cool or trendy or funny.
I love that, a cultural time capsule.
Yeah, so for this deep dive, we're going to be using a lesson from English Pod 101.
Okay.
And their hosts, Marco and Erica, they break down some seriously groovy lingo.
Groovy lingo. I love it. All right, so to like really get into this 70s slang, they've got this dialogue set in the 70s.
Exactly.
So you can like hear it in action.
Yeah, imagine like two guys just hanging out,
Okay.
Maybe they just got back from the roller rink or something.
All right.
And one of them is like, hey, man, how's it hanging?
Oh, that's a good one. How's it hanging?
Right. And it's funny because that's like a greeting that's kind of stuck around,
Yeah, you still hear people say that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a classic. And then the other guy, he's like, everything is just groovy, baby.
Groovy, baby.
Which just like screams 70s,
It does. It's like so chill and optimistic.
Exactly. And then he keeps going. He's like, yeah, it's just far out and everything's dynamite.
So he's like really excited.
Yeah, he's like super stoked. And it's interesting because like far out and dynamite, they both basically mean like cool or awesome.
Right.
So it's like they had all these different ways to say the same thing.
Yeah, like they had a whole thesaurus dedicated to being excited.
Yeah, exactly. But before we get too far into the slang, Marco and Erica, they actually take a moment to explain what a roller rink is.
Right.
Because, not everyone might know what that is these days.
Yeah, that's true.
And they also define block, like, a city block, which is helpful because it helps us understand the dialogue.
Yeah, because like that's not slang, but it's like important context.
Exactly. It sets the scene. So going back to our 70s dudes.
Yeah.
The first guy, he was saying how he couldn't make it to the roller rink because he ran into this foxy lady.
Foxy lady.
Who had just moved to his block.
Okay.
Now, foxy lady, that's a phrase you don't hear too much anymore.
Not really, no.
It was like a common compliment back then. But as Marco points out, it might not be as well received
Vocabulary
today.
preview?
Yeah. Times have changed.
Right, exactly. Which is interesting because it shows us how language evolves along with like social norms,
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like a reminder to be mindful of the words we use.
Absolutely. So anyway, this guy, he's telling his friend how he was chatting her up a bit and then they mellowed out at her place.
Mellowed out. Now that's classic 70s.
Oh yeah, mellow out. It's all about like relaxing, taking it easy.
Yeah, we could all use a little more mellowing out these days.
Right.
For sure.
And when his friend hears the story, he's like, right on.
Right on.
Which is just like such a versatile phrase, like it can be agreement, approval, excitement, you name it.
The ultimate 70s affirmation.
Exactly. But then the conversation takes a bit of a turn.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we learned that the first guy's friend, Jim, he's always hitting him up for cash.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah, classic Jim, always hitting people up.
So what does hitting someone up mean?
So hitting someone up is basically slang for asking for something, usually money.
Oh.
And it's interesting how it can be used for both like lighthearted requests and more serious ones.
Yeah, so like in this case, it sounds like Jim's kind of taking advantage of his friend.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Okay.
And then the dialogue ends with, you want to book and go grab some grub.
Okay, so break that down for me.
Okay, so book here means to leave quickly.
Right.
And grub is just a fun, informal word for food.
Grub.
So basically they're saying, let's get out of here and go get something to eat.
I got it already. So even in that short dialogue, we've uncovered a bunch of 70s slang.
Oh, yeah, tons of it.
But what I find really interesting is like how the slang reflects the culture of that time,
Exactly. Like take mellow out, for instance. It wasn't just about relaxing.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost like a whole philosophy. Like the 70s saw this rise of a more laid-back attitude, maybe influenced by like the counterculture movement or the growing popularity of marijuana.
Interesting. So it's not just about the words themselves.
Yeah.
It's about like understanding the context and the cultural forces that shaped them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes studying slang so fascinating. It's like a window into the past,
Yeah.
A way to connect with a different era and understand how people lived and thought and interacted.
I love that.
And what's cool? This English Pod 101 lesson, they have like a whole Fluency builder section.
Oh, cool.
With even more 70s slang.
All right, let's hear it.
It's like a bonus round of time travel.
I'm ready.
All right, so they start off with another way to say hello, like how's it hanging?
How's it hanging?
Yeah, very similar to how's it going.
Right.
But with that 70s twist, and they even point out that you don't really say the G at the end, like how's it hanging?
How's it hanging?
Exactly. It's like super casual.
I like it. And then they go back to chatter up, which, as we talked about, means to kind of flirt with someone, try to impress them.
Yeah, and we were saying how that might not be as common today.
Right. Exactly. Some things just don't age well.
That's true.
But it's interesting because some slang terms, like they talk about hitting someone up.
Yeah.
That's still around today.
It is.
To ask for something, usually money.
It's like super common.
I wonder why some phrases stick around and others just disappear.
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess some are just more useful or versatile.
Yeah, maybe like they capture some universal experience,
Right.
Like needing a favor or wanting to get out of a boring situation.
Like when they talk about book.
Oh, yeah. Book.
That means to leave quickly.
Yeah, and we still do that today, even if we don't use that word.
Totally. Like the need to escape is timeless.
Exactly. And then there's grab some grub.
Grub.
Which is just a fun way to say food.
I love that grub.
It's funny how even eating has its own slang. I know it makes you wonder what slang we use today that will sound weird in the future.
Right.
Like, what will people think?
I don't know, but it's fun to think about.
It is. It's like language is always changing.
Yeah, constantly adapting and evolving. And by studying the past, we get a better appreciation for how language works today.
Totally.
Yeah.
I feel like we've leveled up our language skills.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we've learned so much 70s slang. Like, I feel like I'm practically fluent.
Right. You're ready to hit the roller rink and chat up some foxy ladies?
Haha. Exactly. But, like, all jokes aside, it makes you wonder, what's the point of knowing all this if nobody uses it anymore?
That's a good question. But even though slang changes, some phrases fade away, understanding the language of the past, like it gives us a deeper understanding of culture and history.
And like how language itself works.
Exactly.
It's like having a secret decoder ring for all those old movies and TV shows.
Yeah, for sure. Like you watch a 70s movie now and you're like, oh, I get it.
I know what they're saying.
I know what they
Dialogue. Plus, it's just fun to know, right?
Yeah, totally. It can be a cool conversation starter.
Like, hey, man, how's it hanging?
Exactly. Or you could compliment someone on their groovy outfit.
That's right.
But, even if we don't use these exact words today, like, the ideas behind them are still relevant.
Right.
Like using metaphors, shortening words, inventing new expressions.
That's what slang is all about.
It's the heart of it no matter what decade it is.
So learning about 70s slang, it actually helps us understand how slang works today.
Exactly. It's all connected.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Language is always changing. Adapting, evolving. And by studying the history, we get a better understanding of just how complex and creative language really is.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. So this deep dive into 70s slang, it's been far out.
Far out, for sure.
All right. So for all you listeners out there, we want to hear from you. What other 70s slang have you come across?
Yeah, share your discoveries.
And be sure to check out English Pod 101 for more awesome language lessons.
They've got tons of great stuff.
All right. Until next time, keep it groovy.
Keep it groovy.